Hi guys, welcome to the It Starts With Action podcast. I am Presence, your host, and the podcast is all about inspiring you guys to take action because I realize that people have so many crazy ideas, they have so many amazing goals, but they don't get there. Why? Because they don't take action. Action is the most important thing and it all starts with action. So I invite people to share their stories and how they overcame fear and got to where they are. And today I have Sam Lister with me and his story is incredible. So I can't wait for you guys to listen. But before that, I just want to also say that if you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy the mission, then please join the swag community. Well, the swag, which is Starts With Action Gang. It's a Discord server and just me and everyone who is interested in joining the community. We chat and we have fun, but we also keep each other accountable. Overcoming fears, rejection, failure, we all do it together, we're all in this together, we're all supporting each other. No matter how crazy the goal is, we support you and we believe in you because I really believe everything is possible, but you have to take action towards it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of It Starts With Action, and today I'm so grateful to have Sam Lister with me, who is 20 and loves videos, has started his company when I was like 18, one day before 19, I remember. Blank State Media, right?
Yep.
And also has a podcast. I can't remember. What's it? Blank Start Blank. Wait, no, I just remembered. Okay,
You got it.
I'm such a bad host. I wanted to remember. Start Blank. No, Blank Start.
Starting blank.
Starting blank. So yeah, helping entrepreneurs starting and. So I listened to Sam's story on YouTube and it's so inspiring, honestly. Like it's not easy to kind of decide to not go to college and go all in on like entrepreneurship and business. So could you tell a bit about like your story, maybe a little shorter because that was a really long one, but I definitely recommend everyone listen to it because I love stories and it was really inspiring. But yeah, can you tell a bit about what you're doing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm currently 20 years old. I run a content agency where we help personal brands scale their video content on social. So we do a bunch of video editing. So we have a subscription-based model. You get your own video editor, and we just really work with a lot of high-level personal brands in that space. I also love just diving into the world of self-development and reading and podcasts and physical health and mental health and really just like trying to become the best human being I can. So through meditation and yoga and journaling and gratitude and like just really a whole ecosphere of self-development is kind of what my life is right now. So to kind of rewind things a little bit, I really got into the business sphere in like late high school. So like junior year, I'm from the States, so I'm Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So when I was like 16, 17 years old, going into my junior year of high school, I just started flirting with different entrepreneurial ventures. So real estate, e-commerce, cryptocurrency, forex trading, literally anything I could do to make money. Definitely lost a lot of money in the process, but I was always obsessed over just trying new things and just seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. So I've just really carried that attitude. Fast forward 2 years later to where I am now. So it is just through a bunch of iterations of different businesses in the social media space, in really any space I could think of. Once I landed on video when I was in like 2018 or so, middle of 2018 is when I started just creating content just for Instagram, for Snapchat, Facebook, any platforms on the time, just telling people what I was trying to do, just documenting my story. And then come fall of 2018, I hopped over to LinkedIn, and that's when I really went all in on video. So again, that was like the day before I turned 19, when I just really like started my essentially a video production agency. And then all through 2019, I just pivoted through the video world essentially. And now here we are, fast forward 2 years, and we're fully remote. We're essentially just going really hard in like the personal branding development. So that's a little bit about me. So I can't wait to jump in, and thanks for having me.
How did you kind of, like, for me, the first quote that came to my mind when I heard your story, you were all about like feeling the fear and doing it anyway and not being afraid to like try new things. Were you always just like naturally curious and just not afraid to take action and just like not afraid to fail and stuff? Or did you have to like work on it, or?
Yeah, I think that really comes down to self-esteem and like confidence with yourself. Like I've definitely struggled with that in the past, like growing up, but it was just through just like constant growth and just learning more about myself where I just felt comfortable and I just felt more confident with myself. So that really stems from my risk-taking ability. Like I can stomach so much risk. It's unbelievable, I think. Like even just like since I was like 14, like when I got like my first technical job. Before that, I was like cutting lawn and cutting grasses for a living and stuff. But when I got that first job, like every paycheck of mine just went into investments, whether it's stocks and mutual funds and ETFs from an actual investment world side of things or starting business. Like I never really kept any of my money, and I was just always looking for new opportunities to invest and make more money and just grow and learn and develop myself. So it's just been a constant, I guess thinking back to it, it's been what 7 years now since I was 14. So since then, it's just been, okay, where can I put my money next? Where can I try next? Where can I put my focus on to just really grow and really just be obsessed over developing and like becoming the best learner I could. So that's kind of where it came from. I have no crystal clear answer of, hey, this is why I don't fear failure, but I just don't, I guess I have a healthy relationship with fear, and fear drives action, and action drives change. So people say they're motivated by fear when they're not really motivated by fear, but fear, again, like I said, fear creates action. It starts with action. So action creates direction and focus. So fear creates focus essentially, and that's I think how I look at it.
So like, did your interest in personal development, like self-development, come first, or was it entrepreneurship that came first? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think they're one and the same. Entrepreneurship definitely came first, actually. And through that, I realized the power of self-development. And self-development is a huge, huge space. It's not like you point at self-development and that's one thing or two things. Like self-development looks different for everyone, and it is different for everyone. So I think through entrepreneurship, like you are obviously developing yourself. You're developing your mindset. So it's definitely one and the same. So I was interested in starting business. I knew I didn't have the skill set to run a sustainable business. I had no idea how to start a business. So just through learning that, you're in the self-development space already.
Yeah, like one thing that kind of sets you apart is that you kind of don't know where to start, but you started and you researched and you did it. And like so many people want to do what you do, but they feel like they don't have the skills, they don't know where to start, and so they choose to give up. So what made you decide that I'm gonna try and I'm gonna, like, I don't have the skills, but I'm still gonna do it anyway?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I guess quitting my job forced me to. I quit my job in early 2018, I believe, early 2017. 2017, I quit my job. So when I was 18, though, is when I quit my job. I said I'm never going to go work for anyone else in a traditional setting. Yes, I can go work for like mentors and stuff, and that's a different sphere. But typical 9 to 5 or whatever a 9 to 5 would look like for a 17, 18-year-old still in school. I said I'm done with that world. I'm not trading my time for money in this sense. And I'm like, I'm going to make it somehow. I literally have no other choice. I'm not going to school. This is literally all I have. So I either make it or I don't. And I'm just going to keep on trying until something works. So once I landed on video, then I'm like, okay, cool. There's a little momentum in the right direction. That's where I can focus my energy. And then from there, video is still a huge world. So it's just been a constant 2-year focus on narrowing down and just really defining my focus here. So that's kind of how it stemmed.
Yeah, and you decided not to go to college either.
Correct.
So, like, why did you decide not to?
Yeah, I knew I could learn way more and way faster without it. I knew college would be a hindrance of mine. I didn't really care about having the college experience, so going out to like sporting events and partying and stuff. I partied a bunch in high school, so like I didn't really need to party anymore. And I'm pretty transparent about that. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. But yeah, like I didn't feel a need for college at all. I knew if I could grow my network and grow my skills to just surround myself with the best people possible for me to grow the fastest, I would never need a college degree. So that's kind of it was a pretty easy decision for me. I decided that like my senior year, I always like flirted on the edge of like, do I go? Do I not go? Why the hell would I go? And that was just to really please other people. And I'm like, that's pointless. So I don't want to go. I don't really like what they're teaching in school. So I'm not going to sit through another 4, 5, 6 years of that.
Yeah, that's good. So many people just like kind of go to university or college without kind of having like, without thinking of like if they really want it. And then they end up graduating and like kind of struggling to find a job because they studied something that they don't actually like. And yeah, you talked about networking, and I heard that from your story. It was like kind of one opportunity leading to the other. Would you say that's like kind of the most important in your like journey? Because I feel like about like school doesn't teach you about the importance of like networking or what it even is, and like no teaching about communication or like that. And it wasn't until like this COVID that I kind of had more time to rethink of what I want to do and start reaching out to people, that I realized how how important it is to like meet people who like you want to learn with, instead of like just like reading textbooks and stuff. For people who don't like, because my main audience is like Gen Z, so like kind of 16 to 20-year-olds. What like from your experience of like networking, what like would you say to them in terms of like the importance of it, and how would you go about it?
Yeah, networking is everything. And as cliche as the saying is, like, your network is your net worth, it's true. Like it's a connections world out there. Really the name of the game is how many people do you know and how many people know you. It's definitely goes two ways. And how many people know you goes on the branding side of things, and how big of a brand can you build authentically, not going out and buying followers and stuff. I'm not talking about that building brand. That's not considered building brand. But how many connections are you making? How many people know you? Like how much value are you bringing to your audience on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on podcasts, anything? That's all networking. Social media is a whole networking play. But then there's how many people do you know? How many people can you reach a hand out to and they bring you up? That's the most important part. I would be nowhere even close to where I am without like my core network here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. They've helped me so much, and they're a huge reason why I've been able to grow so far and just really get connected to other people. So where I'm from, Milwaukee isn't like a super big city. It's not like an LA or New York or even Chicago, but it's big enough that there's so many opportunities here, but it's small enough that everyone kind of knows everyone. So once I got like tapped into like the entrepreneurial startup ecosystem in Milwaukee, things just spread super quick. So that's something I'm definitely grateful for. But networking is everything, and like putting yourself out there and just asking questions and introducing yourself to more people. That's definitely how you grow.
Were you ever like afraid of putting yourself out there? Like, I mean, I've like the like thing that stopped me the most of doing what I wanted to do was like being afraid to talk to people and putting myself out there. But I realized that there's like literally no other option if I want to get to where I want to be. So do you have any like experience in terms of like your challenges and fears and how you overcame it and take action?
Yeah, absolutely. Two funny stories on different sides of things. Starting with the content side of things. My first video, if you scroll down on my Instagram with 300 some posts earlier, whatever I'm at right now, you can see my very first video I ever posted. It was April 16th, 2018, I believe. And it was awful. It was so terrible. And that was probably like my 13th, 14th, 15th try, and it's a 1-minute video. It was so bad. I was so cringy, so awkward. And it was so hard for me to film. And that was coming from someone who was like super comfortable public speaking. I've spoken in front of my school before, and like in front of 1,000 people. And like, I love doing like classroom debates and getting up in front of people. But when I pointed the camera at my face for the first time, I froze and I had no idea what to say. And it was so painful. But I just kept pushing, and like okay, they're the only way to get over this is to film my second video, then my third video, then my fourth, and then the list goes on and on and on. And this is repetition. It's getting the reps in. So that's on the content side of things. So awful, so bad. But here we are, more than 2 years later.
And that was amazing. Like your videos are like super like on, like, I don't know how, like when I see all these like video content, like it's so good. How can it be any better? Like,
no, we're just growing. We're just learning.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, but thank you for that. But on the networking side of things, I remember very vividly like my very first networking event. So like there's other people in like suits and ties and stuff, and I'm like, I'm terrified of networking events. I don't feel like I belong. So I was so scared I brought my dad with. So yeah, I dragged him along to my first networking event. That was the February 2018. So again, a little over 2 years ago, probably 2.5 years ago, actually, if we're thinking about it. So thinking back to that, yeah, it was wild. Yeah, I brought my dad with me. I was terrified, but then 9 months later, they were a client of mine. So that's how just fast things move. So it was a local like startup company called Startup Milwaukee, and they host a bunch of startup events around business and entrepreneurship and startups. So yeah, I was terrified. A mutual connection connected me. So I went, and I was terrified of the whole thing the whole time. But fast forward 8-9 months later, and I was doing work with them. So yeah, it was a wild ride, but that was my experience for my first networking event.
Yeah, I think it's good to like kind of learn and like hear from people who are kind of already like doing really well, and like kind of reminding people that everyone starts somewhere, and everyone has had to face the fear and take action on it in order to get to where they are today. So it was really cool to hear that. And I also heard that because one thing like before I watched one of your videos about, I think I forgot which one, but I kind of started YouTube with the goal of like documenting my journey after listening to Gary Vee about talking about documenting, and how it was so cool, like if people like them kind of documented where they started. And then I saw your video about you're doing the same, and how like 20 to 30 is really the best time to take risks. I don't know. That is a really a question.
No, yeah, it definitely is. Like, if we like transition and pivot into like, hey, I know your audience is primarily the younger generation from 16 to 25 or so. That age range is perfect in high school, in college. Like, we don't have a lot of expenses. We don't have a lot of overhead. We're typically not married and have a house and kids and stuff. Obviously, there's some outliers, but casting no hate on them. But yeah, this is the time to take as much risk as possible, because we're the most flexible as possible. So we can afford to lose hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, whatever it is, starting our own business, going our own way, and just trying and taking those risks. So you can't really do that in any other part of life as easy as you can during this stage.
What would you say is like, because I feel like you've taken so many risks, what would you say is the biggest one you've taken?
That's a great question. See, it's funny because I view like, yes, I'm extremely risk adverse. Like, I can take as much risk as I want, but I never think of it like, oh, this is super risky. What if this doesn't pay off? Because I know it's like, okay, if this doesn't pay off, it's going to be a really good lesson. So that's why I like struggle answering that. And I don't know if I've ever been asked that before. So that's a fantastic question. I guess the riskiest thing I've ever done from a monetary standpoint, I was probably investing in cryptocurrencies super heavily in like 2017, 2018. That's where all of my money was going. So I lost a bunch of it. So from an investment standpoint, that was probably the riskiest. But again, I could afford to lose that. I didn't really need that money, so I was putting it into there. And that was fine for me, because I knew like, there's a good chance I will lose all of this, but you can't invest what you're not willing to lose. So that's why I'm like, okay, yes, this is risky on paper. A lot of people wouldn't do this on paper, but I never know what's going to happen until I try it. So let's roll the dice and try it. I guess that was risky. I've jumped out of a plane. I've skydove. I went skydiving. I guess
How was that? Was
it was
that
super fun. Uh, I absolutely loved it. It was just a big roller coaster ride, so I had a blast there. But as far as risk, I think uh, those are two mediocre answers at best. Um, maybe something else will pop up, but that's a great question. Like I'm gonna write that down and think about that. I'll get back to you on it.
yeah, I love asking questions, but I find it. Oops, sorry, just dropped my phone. Yeah, I'm all about, because like one of my goals is to become a coach, in terms of, I'm a massive personal development nerd, kind of like mindset nerd. But and like I think like the power of asking questions is so like questions are just so powerful. I'm still really bad at asking questions, so I'm so grateful that you said that. It was a good question. That's the first time. But yeah, that was unrelated. I guess I really liked how you kind of mentioned, like, taking the risk. If it fails, then it's a lesson. Whereas some like people would see it a different way, in terms of, if you fail, then you lose, you have nothing, you're a failure, like that's it. And so I think it's a good kind of way to like bring it to mindset and personal development, in terms of how has that side kind of changed your life in a way.
Yeah, it's everything. I'm a completely different person from a mindset standpoint than I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. And that growth is just everything. So just really being in love with that process of learning and growing and developing yourself further. I think that's one of the most important things you can do. But yeah, I don't even like looking back to like this year is the perfect example. Like looking back to like the start of 2020, I was a completely different person than where I am now. Looking back to the late like fall to early winter of 2019, that was like a super like low point of my life. Like I was just struggling, like business was struggling, personal relationships were struggling, and like my mindset was struggling. I was in a darker place than I am now. So looking back to like those months, and I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like I turned 20, I felt like trash. Like my 20th birthday was awful, but like reflecting back from then on, like to now, I'm like, that is the whole beauty of growth, to really like look back and see, hey, this is how I've changed my life. And I've realized I'm in control. So it's like at any point in life, you can take action and really just change and develop yourself and learn more and gain skills that actually have utility to your life, implement them to your life, and make your life physically, mentally, spiritually better. So like digging into self-development has 100% changed my life from the top down, all my relationships, everything. So yes, it's important.
Yeah. How did you get yourself like back up from like when you were in 2019, like not the best? Like, what did you do in terms of like get started to lift yourself back up to where you are today?
Yeah. So I kind of hired a coach, like a business life development coach, and he really helped me steer me in the right direction. I always knew like what I wanted, and I always like had these skills. Everyone already has skills, but they just don't know how to speak about them. They don't know how to implement them into their lives. So I was just really lacking clarity and direction. Like that was the number one thing I was lacking. I just didn't know a path. So he really helped me kind of pave my own path. And he just really talked me through like, hey, these are things you're interested in. These are the things you want to do. Here's how everything aligns. Here, go try this path. Or he didn't even really do that. He enabled me to create my own path just by talking through things. So I would say find someone you can really trust and like bounce ideas off of them. Have them analyze like where you currently are, because you have a lot of blind spots. So hiring someone, whether it's your best friend, a spouse, your mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever it is, business partner, just talking through your current situation with them and having them, like, I guess, be open enough for feedback and true, honest feedback, that will help so tremendously. Because again, there's so many blind spots we all have, that they're blind spots for a reason. We cannot see them, but other people can see them. So them pointing that out definitely helps.
Yeah. Basically my journey of trying to be a coach. I think, it's all about like asking questions that help other people think of the solutions themselves instead of like, giving the answer to them. But yeah, that's definitely important. What does your next like best version of yourself look like?
I love that. Another awesome question. So you are not terrible at asking questions. These are awesome. The next best version of myself. I'm already here, but it's constantly evolving. Like everyone is always their best version of themselves in theory. So it's like I should be better tomorrow than I am today, and then the next day than I am today. And it's just a constant evolution. But as far as kind of like what I'm doing, I'll take it more of kind of like the, hey, what's going on in life route, rather than just like pure self-development. I'm just really stepping into like becoming a true business owner and like running a business how it's not even supposed to be run, but like developing the systems and the operational processes and like surrounding myself with smarter people and building a team and less running around without a direction and more running super fast in one single direction and then just kind of weaving my way instead of completely pivoting. So that's something I'm super excited about. Essentially, I launched this new like path of the business like April 1st. So right as like COVID was hitting the world with like the editing side of things. So that's really the next direction, is just to really scale this side of the business, because it's pretty much the first time I've had a true direction and true clarity of how I build this and where I want it to go in the future. Again, in the past 2 years, so super excited for this clarity, but always just evolving and constantly learning new things from podcasts, books, online courses, literally anything. So best version of myself. Hopefully, I'm here right now, and again, that constantly evolves. But then from business side, just really honing in on clarity and direction and really getting those crystal clear.
Yeah, it must be super cool to like get to a place where you're now focusing on scaling a business. That must be really exciting, especially at your age. It's so cool. So I remember like yesterday I was listening to your podcast with Luke, and then you mentioned about you wanting to start a university as well. Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously I mentioned before I didn't go to traditional university, traditional college. So I didn't do that because I just didn't think they were teaching the right things. They weren't teaching the most important things that kids should be learning. And I was really fed up with the school system in high school. I was super interested in business and entrepreneurship. I didn't really have any super specific skills, but I was interested in a lot of things. And I just wasn't given the environment to grow from a traditional systematic standpoint. I took all of my high school's business classes, and they didn't help me with almost anything. They helped me fill out some worksheets and take tests that I remember nothing from. There is no point where they said, "Hey, what do you want to do with your life? What's your passions? Here's how you build a business around those passions." So I'm like, screw this. I'm not going to school and putting up with 4 more years of this. Obviously, there's awesome things about college. And there's by no means am I saying college is right or wrong. It depends on the person. But for me, I know there's a lot more people out there exactly like me in my shoes. Maybe that aren't grateful enough to have parents that let them skip college, that make them go to college, and then they suffer 4 years, and that kind of entrepreneurial spirit has died out, or that creative spirit has died out. So I just want to create one of the most inspiring places on earth, whether that be a university or a city or anything. It'll all be one and the same. People relate school to learning a lot of the time, when I think they're dramatically different. So just a place to learn more things is more so what I'm focused on, whether I call it a university or not. Just a place to learn as much as possible, as fast as possible, and the things that can advance your life as fast as possible. That's what I'm interested in building. Just teaching people and giving people skills that have actual utility to make the world a better place. That's what I really want to build.
That's so cool. The younger generation are lucky. Yeah, I think like I really like impact theory and like their like university style. I feel like what would be the main, I guess, skills you think that school hasn't taught you that you kind of wish you learned?
Yeah, touching on like impact theory, love it. I have Impact Theory University and love what Tom Bilyeu and Lisa are doing on that regard. So that's probably the closest thing I want to build, something along those lines. But I think a few of the biggest ones from a self-development standpoint is how to manage stress, how to manage your time, how to manage your workload, and a lot of just the soft skills, how to communicate, how to sell yourself. I guess like selling and branding yourself bleeds more into like the business side of things, but from a business standpoint, how to sell a product, what are different ways to sell, how do you sell yourself, how do you build brand. All of those things are not taught in school, or it's taught on a worksheet of, hey, fill this out, check the box, and then you're done. You don't learn like that. You don't implement those things into practical real life. So yeah, just more experiential learning, more like hands-on training of, hey, go out and actually do it and come back with your results. There's no pass and failure. There's no, oh, you got a C- versus a B+ on this. Like, no, there's no grades. There's like, hey, did you learn or did you not learn? If you're not learning, then get out of the class. If you're learning, then awesome. Let's learn and grow together. So really just focus on growth mindsets and being the constant learner.
Yeah, like about being the constant learner and like growth mindset. It's like before I had a fixed mindset, as in I can't wait to finish school, finish university, because then I don't need to learn anything and it'll be like, done. I'm done. I'm so happy. Like no more learning. But like, now I'm like I have so many things that I want to learn. It's just that I never was told about these subjects in school. And just I really in the beginning I really didn't like the idea of selling yourself and sales and marketing. Like I just don't like it. But like now I realize if I'm not selling a product, I'm selling myself, and it's probably the most important skill that everyone should learn. Yeah, so I definitely agree.
I'll flip the script a little bit and ask the podcaster, how did you like pull yourself out from like being in a mindset of like, hey, I cannot wait to finish school, so I don't need to learn, to like now being a podcaster, having these conversations surrounding literally growth mindsets and like how to be the learner. What made that shift for you?
So it came from my story. So my story, very quick snapshot because it's super long. But like basically, when I was 9, I moved from the UK to study in Hong Kong, and because I like kind of was very different, had a culture shock, I started to be like bullied since a young age for like many years, which kind of like I got super bad grades, and then I became obsessed with changing myself for other people. So I became a studyholic to get the best grades to prove people wrong. And then I developed anorexia to like be the skinniest to prove people that I look okay, because I was bullied for grades and how I looked. And then I got to a point where I kind of just was like dying and got sent to hospital. And that moment was when I was like, I focused so many years on changing myself for other people just to kind of like see my body shutting down in hospital. So then I moved back to the UK to like restart my life. But then I hit a second war. I developed alopecia out of this like nowhere. So I lost all my hair. And then I went back to depression, and like, because alopecia is something you can't control. And it just kind of clicked where because I can't control this, and I'm just so depressed for like a decade. Like I have to change something, because I've been focused on changing so much about the outside and never looked inside. And that's when I became interested in personal development and realizing that I could change, and then realizing that there's just becoming more curious, I guess, about like excited about life and just learning, like constantly learning, which kind of made me interested in like, it doesn't relate to school, but that's how I kind of became interested in always learning to improve myself for myself and not for other people, which applies to like school as well. Don't know if that answered your question, but
No,
yeah,
I love that, and thank you for opening up about that
yeah.
for my question on your own podcast.
Yeah, I think like it's cool because it's just more of like a conversation to like build genuine connections along, like, because I am someone who is like, actually, if you like ask someone who I was like 2 months ago before starting the podcast, I was someone who'd never ever go on a video call ever. And so a selfish reason for starting the podcast was to push myself out of my comfort zone and talk to people on LinkedIn and meet more like-minded people, because I never, like, it's so hard for me to like, without the podcast I would never meet so many friends that are like actually into personal development and understand me. And it's like since then I surrounded myself with people like you, like interested in mindset, and it's honestly changed my like it's so weird how this COVID has honestly changed who I am as a person. I've become so much more outgoing. I love talking, and I've just become so much more happier since surrounding myself with the right kind of people. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I absolutely love that, and kudos to you. Like, hats off. That's awesome.
You too. But, yeah, sorry, so said too much, but so yeah, when I saw, I guess like I'm a bit like, yeah, I was a bit late in terms of, it took me ages to take like for me it's like just, it took me ages like to take action, like because like always overthinking, fearing of like was a perfectionist, failure, like I just, yeah, because of being a perfectionist, it's a failure. And so kind of starting the podcast is also a way to brainwash myself to realize that actually, if you want to get to where you want to be, there's no right time to take action. So for you, I guess, was it the same in terms of, there's no right time? Like, why did you, this is not a good question, but like, why did
no
you
bad questions.
the day you decided to like start your business, like day before 19, was there a specific reason for that, or you just like kind of, I'm just going to do it?
Yeah, it was really out of necessity. I'm like, I need to do this. There's no other reason. I have no backup plan. I'm going to just run and see how far this can take me. So, yeah, it was just kind of foreseeing the future of, hey, I got nothing to lose. This is why I chose this path. I'm just going to take as much action as possible and see where it leads me, and just capitalize on opportunity after opportunity, and just always be on the lookout for that.
Yourself to have no other way round and no other option is like, it's kind of scary in terms of like, did you ever have like self-doubt, and how did you kind of overcome that, if you did?
Yeah, I guess like all entrepreneurs, not all, but most entrepreneurs have like an unwavering faith in themselves of like, I can't fail. Like, I can do this. That's definitely how I was. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to fail. Like, I am going to just put my head down and work until I make something out of this. And that's really how I viewed it. So I wasn't really scared of failure. Like, I was definitely more scared to go to college and take on $100,000 worth of debt or $50,000 worth of debt. And not do this. So people say not going to college is more risky than going to college, but I view it as the other way around. I'm like, like, time is risk, money is risk. So it's like, if I'm investing 4, 5, 6 years of my life plus $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, that is one of the riskiest investments I could make. So not doing that gave me the ultimate freedom to design a life I want to live. So hopefully that answered it.
Yeah, no, that definitely, I think, yeah, like kind of, because I guess so many of like people I talk to, including me as well, just like before, I never really thought of like university as in, I thought it was like just something I had to do, like never thought of it as a risk of actually going to university is a risk itself. So that's a very interesting way to see it, actually. I've never really thought of it like just switching it around. Actually going to university is a risk instead of not going, because like 4 years of your life is a long time, and like the amount of growth and achievement you have in just like 2 years is like amazing. So yeah, definitely I think everyone just don't be afraid to think and
just go for the life you want, even if it's probably not exactly the route that most people take. Yeah, so normally at the end of the podcast, I ask the guests to give a challenge to listeners to take action on. So what kind of challenge do you have for us today?
Over the next 90 days, we'll call it, until September, really, which is wild. It's already Q3 in 2020. The world is in a chaotic place. It's wild. There's a lot of tension and stress in the air. I would say in these next 90 days, develop a new skill. Pick out some skill that has a utility to you. So maybe it's picking up podcasting, and podcasting allows you to connect with more people and really push yourself and grow. All right, commit to podcasting for these next 90 days. If you run a business, commit to being a better salesman or better leader. Whatever it is, if you want to get better at meditating, okay, meditate for the next 90 days straight. Start with 3 breaths and then work your way up to 30 minutes maybe, or an hour, whatever it is, whatever works for you, whatever skill you've been putting off, wanting to learn that skill and go hard at it for 90 days and see how much your life changes.
Like, you don't have to do a challenge, but if you were going to do it, I'm just curious, what would you do?
Yeah, mine is become a better, I guess it's twofold. I was gonna say become a better salesman, like sell better and like bring in more traffic to the business. But I'm also gonna say become a better learner, like learn better, learn more, learn faster. So I'll pick the learning route, and that's obviously pretty high level. You can learn a lot of things, but actually like the skill of learning, like how do I retain information better? How do I read books better and take notes better? So the physical process of learning is what I want to get better at, and just more consistent, like just build it into my psyche of like if I'm listening to a podcast, have things stick in my mind, write them down. And that's the process of learning. So really just develop my learning habits.
Final question, just curious, what's your favorite podcast?
My favorite podcast, other than It Starts With Action, probably I've been really big into Quick Brain with Jim Quick lately. He does super short, like quick podcasts. They're like
so about learning, like
15
memory.
to 20 minutes. Yeah, it's all about hacking your brain. So I've loved that. It's super quick. It's super easy to digest, and they're super tactical. They're like 3, 4, 5 like tactical points of like, hey, implement this into your life right after you get done listening, and your life will change. So I've been loving that. I'm definitely switching to more of a like quick form style like that because I love it. Super short, 20-minute episodes. You can just plow through them and learn a lot in the process. So definitely check that out, Jim Quick. Quick Brain, I think.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I'm going to definitely check that out because I think like how you learn is also very important, not just. Because learning effectively is something quite hard, and like memory is not the best for me. People know me, but So thank you so much for coming, Sam. How can people like reach out to you if they want to find you?
Yeah, you can find me on any social media. So my handles are @SamXLister on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. LinkedIn, you can just type in Sam Lister, SAMLISTER. I have a podcast called Starting Blank, and really just on the internet. So shoot me a DM. Instagram is probably my most receptive place to just communicate day to day with me. So definitely feel free to reach out if you guys ever have any questions or just want to chat.
I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. If you did, then please give a review on Apple Podcasts. Please tell your friends. Please share it. I would love this baby to grow. My personal goal is to become a coach to help people take action. So if there's something, an idea on your mind, if there's anything you want to do and you've been trying to do it and you've been struggling so hard and you need a coach, you need someone to guide you, to support you, keep you accountable, then please reach out to me on LinkedIn or other social media and let's have a call and let's chat. And yeah, until next time, guys.